So the purpose of this video is going to be to look at the exercise wizard in Finale. A lot of times we recreate the wheel and don't really need to. There are certain things that are already there. If you go into Finale and you say New, and then go down to Exercise Wizard, you have to know what you want to do. So in this case, we're going to say concert G major scale. We can lay that out, and we'll set our font here for our title because we wanted our kids to learn the concert G major scale. And we go on to the next menu. And so we go up to scales, click the little arrow to expand it, major scales, and then you have some options. You can expand, there's one whole note version of it, up and down an octave. There is a couple of quarter note versions, up and down one octave, descending then ascending one octave, and you can see that you just have lots of different variations of the same scale. You can choose which format you want. Now if you don't see the format you want, that means you're gonna have to create it from scratch. But for most of us, if you wanted to lay this out, create a solo and ensemble scale sheet or something, it's saves you the time of having to worry about correct octaves, formatting, blah, blah, blah. So I have two different versions here, rhythmic versions selected, and with my first version selected, I'll say, give that exercise a title, and it's going to be Concert G Major number 1. Make sure you adjust the key signature to be Concert G Major, and you can adjust articulations. That's what those little samples on the right are. Then this will be Concert G Major number 2. Again, make sure you adjust the key signature, and I will pick an articulation pattern here, so it'll be slur 2, tongue 2. Hit next. It's going to lay out, at the top you see it says Wind Ensemble, and when you start moving things, it changes it to a custom ensemble. I'm going to take some things out of my list here that I don't need. You'll see that it also has the number of parts because it's going to print. Then it can print exactly the number of parts you need right away. So for example, if my ensemble also happens to have a violin player, because they just moved in the middle of the year, and that's the way that goes, I select violin, and now I want to check the ranges. This is going to be an intermediate range. It's going to do some things automatically here. And then if I hit Save Lesson, it's actually going to give me some other choices. I can save it as a lesson file, which means I can edit it. Change the lesson. If I save it as a notation file, I can't use these templates anymore. But in this case, I'll say save it as both. I'm just going to have it put it right on my desktop, and we'll call it. I hate to have spaces in my title and my file names because it ends up can create some problems. But you'll see that it adds on the instrument tag, and it also has the .lsn. That file can be changed using this wizard. If you open it back up, it'll give you the settings you have, and you can go in and change it. But then it's also created just some .musx files, which are going to be your basic notation file. If I open up one of the notation files, there you see it, laid out, Concert G Major scale, exercise number 1, exercise number 2, ready to go. Every instrument is going to be laid out identically, and they're all going to have the articulation markings in there, everything that you indicated. If you want to go in and edit stuff, you can. I like to have my different exercises indented at the beginning of each one, so it's clear where the start is. Now, I would probably adjust my spacing a little bit. I have a tendency to be picky about that. But if I open that lesson file back up, it takes me back to this wizard, and you could change it from here. Now, you can also not look at those notation files because you're not that picky about your notation. You just hit print, and it will print the exact number of each of those parts that you say. When I say not that picky about notation, I mean overly picky. I happen to be overly picky. If you're a normal human being, you'll just let it go. Let's say that we don't want to do, let's look at one of the other options. We want to do some rhythm exercises because it has some rhythm exercises available. So we go down to the rhythmic exercises, and you have them divided into levels. And if you go to that description, it will tell you what is here in simple time number 1, what kind of note values you're going to have, etc., etc. And you have all these choices of rhythmic exercises. So you can provide additional rhythmic support to your students, other than continuing to work on the same exercises in the method book. You have little mini melodies, we'll call them, that use basic rhythms in the criteria that you lay out. So they're sight reading examples, they're whatever you want them to be. And you can go all the way through compound time. If you want to create some jazz exercises, that's another option. Here you see where it's going to lay out the chord symbols and the root of the chord, and it gives you a chance to, if you are working with a jazz band, you want to create some lead sheets or some improv studies, and you can do that. And so hopefully that's helpful, and it keeps you from recreating the wheel if you have to make a new exercise.